Greetings metalheads and welcome to No Nonsense Metal Reviews. I'm George and today I'm back with another instalment of Heavy Relics where I've got five lovely additions to my collection, all vinyl, falling firmly within the death metal subgenre. And I'm pretty pleased with some of these finds actually. It got some real bargains. I'm probably not going to go into money and how much everything cost, but needless to say, these are all bargains, right? Absolute steals. So we'll kick off with this first release then. This one I have on CD. I think 3 out of 5 of these articles I do actually also own on CD. However, when I saw this and how kind of, well, I don't know if it's sought after, but difficult to come by it is, I just snapped it up for next to nothing. So this article here, hopefully you can see that very detailed, intricate cover without being blinded by glare. It's very difficult to tell if it's glary or not from here, but this is from Sinister from the Netherlands. This is their 2017 full-length album. This is Syncretism. And I love that artwork. It is dark, which is a brilliant reflection on the music here, because actually, this is a very dark album. If you're not familiar with Sinister, they are an absolutely bludgeoning band. They have a lot of albums, actually, a whole lot of quality material in their catalogue, and they are absolutely savage. I would say that this album is not quite as savage as some of their other albums. There's a little bit more of a kind of a groove here. However, overall, I would say this is actually a really dark album. It has a very dark kind of, well, no pun intended, but a bit of a sinister vibe to it. Cracking material here though, opening up with Neurophobic, which is a killer track. We've got Blood-Soaked Domain with some cracking riffs. Personal highlight for me on this album though, go straight to it, is the Canonical Rites. Hopefully got that right. That has one of the most bludgeoning, groovy riffs on the whole album, and it is mesmerizingly cool. It's freaking great. Vocals are brutal. I can't really think of a straight comparison for that kind of vocal style. There's a kind of a bit of an incantation vibe there sometimes, but yeah, it's brutal stuff. Absolutely brutal. As I say, Neurophobic, cracking, Blood-Soaked Domain. We've got the title track, Syncretism, which is killer. Black Slithering Mass, which is a bit of a brutal kind of Cannibal Corpse bludgeoning attack. Really awesome. And of course, just to make it even more awesome, as if that lovely, gleaming, brutal artwork isn't enough, we've got a nice kind of, I don't really even know what the colour scheme is here. It's kind of like a purple, and then we've got this sort of like charcoal grey going on there. But it's very cool. I do like that a lot. Just has that nice, unique feeling to it. A unique kind of appearance. Very cool indeed. I would say that that is a very solid album. If you like Cannibal Corpse, if you like Morbid Angel, just trying to think of some comparisons where you have those kind of big melodic riffs. If you like Deicide, or maybe not melodic, but kind of groovy, memorable riffs, then definitely you're gonna love Sinister. This is a real cool album. Love that album. Glad to have that in my collection. So up next we've got a now defunct band from Germany. This is their 1993 album from Morgoth. This is Odium. Now again, I do have this on CD, and I would describe Morgoth as a little bit more of a kind of on the slightly more complicated or technical end of the death metal spectrum. However, they're the most death sounding band that isn't death, at least that aren't from more recent years anyway. There's a lot of similarities between Morgoth and Death. Of course, that classic US death metal pioneering band. Lovely gleaming orangey kind of yellow vinyl there. Lovely stuff, really stands out, very eye-catching. This particular article I've got on the Cult Never Dies website in their recent sale a few months back, which is really it was really cool, and I managed to snap this one up, which I'm really pleased about. I would say this is a good album. Just show you the little insert there. So we've got because this is a re-release from more recent times, but nice insert where we've got a little bit of bio there, and then we've got a shot of the band, and we've got our track stuff. So it's really cool, really cool. Nice quality package. It feels like quite a high quality pressing as well. This is good. This is a good album. I think I prefer the debut album, Cursed, but I think that is a sentiment shared by a lot of people. But it's a shame that this band isn't going still, because they had some cracking material. The opening track, Resistance, is a good one, but I think the real strength lies in some of the more kind of ambient technical tracks, such as Under the Surface, Drowning Sun, Golden Age, and the instrumental Odium. Absolutely brilliant. Tight musicianship, some great riff work, some really good vocal work that's very reminiscent of Chuck, the late great Chuck. Album highlight though for me is probably Under the Surface. I think that's a brilliant track. The Art of Sinking is another good one. It's a short and sweet album. It's only I think it's less than 50 minutes long. Some very weird artwork. The more you kind of stare at it, the more you see, and it kind of makes my skin crawl. But there we have it, Odium, from Morgoth, from Germany, from 1993, a now defunct band. Another sort of heritage band, if you like. I know that Morgoth are cited, certainly because of Cursed, as being quite an inspiration to a lot of bands. Master, from the US of A, with Mangled Dehumanization. Master are another very inspirational band. However, this release, I have no idea why it is so obscure, because I can't seem to find that much information on it online. All that I've managed to find is that it is a live album, which it is. I have listened to it. It's definitely a live album. It's on the Metal Archive, so I assume it's it's an official release, and it does say here it's recorded live in concert, licensed from Paul Speckman. So Paul Speckman being the vocalist and bassist of Master, a little bit of a scene legend. He's kind of one of those personalities, one of those characters where they are very renowned, very well renowned. He doesn't seem to be able to stop making interesting music, killer music. He's got not just Master, but loads of other bands and projects. Abomination is a great one, a sort of thrash project of his. He's done work with Roger Johansson from Paganizer fame and about a million other bands. So Paul is one of those guys. He's just always busy, always doing stuff. Master is a band which I've had a bit of a funny relationship with, because I have owned a copy, right here in fact, owned a copy of the debut album, the debut self-titled album, and their second album, which is entitled On the Seventh Day God Created Master. I've had these in my collection for years, and I really love these albums. I think they're great, especially the self-titled album. This has a real strong kind of, like, if you imagine a grittier version of Venom, that's the kind of sound we've got there, but with a bit of a death metal edge. On the Seventh Day God Created Master, that's a little bit more of a slightly more mature death metal album, following a little bit more in the traditional death metal vein. But although they're a great band, and I've had those albums in my collection for a long time, I've never really gotten into them properly. Those are the only two albums I have, and they have tons of material. But I stumbled upon this thinking it was a full-length album, just another studio album. But it's not. It is a live recording on a limited vinyl edition. Mangled Dehumanization is actually a master track, which features After Unknown Soldier on side A. So it's not actually listed on here. However, After Unknown Soldier had finished, which is a cracking track, I noticed the vinyl hadn't finished. So there must be something else hidden in there. And it was, in fact, Mangled Dehumanization. Show you that lovely vinyl. It's a high quality, sort of heavy vinyl, actually. Interesting colour scheme that we've got going on there as well. It's kind of like a red and purple with sort of black swirls in there. Really cool. high quality stuff. In terms of the actual material then, I would say that this is definitely one for the diehards. This is not the best recording. The guitar is pretty much lost in the mix. The drums and the bass are right at the forefront, and some of the songs kind of just blend in. Either that, or I haven't got the settings quite right rigged up on my my sound system. But I don't think that's the case, as everything else kind of sounds okay. The guitar is very thin. You've got some blinding guitar work when it does kind of break through for the leads. It comes to the forefront. But yeah, it's not the best. It's not the best. It's probably the sort of thing that you'd, as I have, picked up, listened to it a couple of times, and I probably won't necessarily reach for it all that often again. But it's a nice thing to have. Unknown Soldiers, a pretty standout track, as is Judgment of Will, in fact. Then we've got Pay to Die, which is a really punky, aggressive track. The Truth is also a good one. It's just mainly the material from the first album, in fact. But Mangled Dehumanization on Metal Bastard Enterprises. Not quite sure of the year of release on this one either. But definitely one for the fans, the true diehards. Definitely one for the collectors. But Master are a great band, as I say. They are a really good band. I just feel like I need to get into them a little bit more. So then, we've got our fourth article here. Another band that I have heard the name of, and they are held in very high regard. I believe they have members who are also in other big high-profiling death metal bands. A band that I was aware of the name, just haven't got into up until this point. This is Victory in Blood from Unanimated from Sweden, I believe. This was released in 2021. This rather brilliant album, in fact, is a really good combination. I do love that artwork as well, I must say. And on the back, you've got really cool art as well. So Victory in Blood is definitely a blackened death metal affair. There's a lot of that kind of black metal characteristics to the riffing and then the drumming as well. There's a lot of blast beats going on there. It's very pummeling stuff, but brilliant musicianship. Vocal work is great. There's a lot of darkness to this album, a lot of depth, to show off this really cool art print that we've got here as well of the album cover there. Really cool. And I picked this up on Amazon, of all places, for next to nothing. It was something like £10, and I had been wanting to get hold of a copy of, or a couple of their albums on CD. However, I stumbled upon that and thought, hey, makes sense to me. What is really cool, and you're probably not going to be able to see it, no, that's definitely not going to come up, is we've actually got an etched disc as well. So it's got this very dark, sinister looking kind of demonic creature on the back there. But it's really cool. Other than that, it's a standard black vinyl, as I say. But I really enjoy this album. I think it's a really strong album. It's definitely shown me that I need to get myself more acquainted with the band. I think Victory in Blood was the first album from the band for a number of years. But tracks like the title track and Seven Mouths of Madness, The Devil Rides Out, Scepter of Vengeance, another good one. We've also got a Sarcophago cover of Satanic Lost at the end of this album, which is really cool. Love it. It's just a good album. Blackened Death, excellent stuff. If you like black metal that's kind of like leaning more towards the death metal end of spectrum, bands like Lord Belial, for example, then you're definitely going to be able to appreciate this particular album. Likewise, if you like good old school death metal that's kind of, it's leaning a little bit more to the blackened side of things, then definitely Victory in Blood is one you've got to check out. I need to acquaint myself more with this band and with that album, in fact. Do a little bit more homework. So it takes us to our last article then, our last heavy relic, which is actually I believe it was reissued. Well, it says originally released in 2000. It doesn't say when this was reissued. However, I think it's only just come out. This is one of my favourite Nile albums. Nile, a US kind of technical death metal band, thematically based on ancient Egypt. This is Black Seeds of Vengeance, their second album in fact, on Orange with Splatter, limited to 1,500 copies. It's actually quite a lot of copies, I suppose, but out on Relapse Records. I freaking love this album. And I've alluded to the colour scheme on this album, so I'm going to have to put you out your misery there and show you the sheer majesty of this vinyl. This is a lovely one. I certainly don't have any other vinyl like this in my collection. That is freaking cool. Absolutely love it. Really does look the part. Glorious, glorious stuff. This album is a very short one, in fact. I think it's barely over half an hour long. Hence why it's not a double album. But it's got some brilliant material here. As I mentioned, Nile are pretty much in their modern incarnation anyway, in their modern times. Of course, headed by the legendary Carl Sanders, very talented man. Very, very talented man, in fact. Great guitar work, amazing musicianship from that man. And I believe he also is the vocalist, or at least does some of the vocals. I'll have to look into that further. But this album, absolutely cracking. Although, as I say, more of a technical death metal band, this is a little bit more of a traditional death metal album. Although there is technicality there is great depth and detail, it's intricate stuff. However, it's a little bit more in the early sort of death metal vein, if you like. Absolutely brilliant tracks. Kicking off the album, we have Invocation of the Gate of At Anka Essen Amenti. I need to brush up on my ancient Egyptian, clearly. But that is an absolutely cracking track. It's pummeling death metal. We've got some killer riffs. We've got some brilliant battering drum work and some dark bestial vocals. Throughout, we have this kind of injection of, I guess it's more like ancient Egyptian sounding music. Of course, it's very difficult to tell exactly what ancient Egyptian music would sound like. So I guess we'll say traditional Egyptian music with the instruments, kind of the folky elements there. Absolutely brilliant. It really adds an atmosphere and a level of depth to the music, which is entirely unique. Other than Scarab, a great actually Egyptian death metal band, there aren't too many death metal bands who base themselves thematically and musically around ancient Egypt. But this band, Nile, absolutely kill. The title track, Black Seeds of Vengeance, is phenomenal. That is punishing. Probably the album highlight for me. Then we've got Defiling the Gates of Ishtar, which is a bruising track again. Amazing guitar work. Masturbating the War God, which is grim, but absolutely crushing. A real good pummeling death metal track. We have got a bit of an epic in the form of To Dream of Ur, or Ur, not really sure. You Are, which is about 9 or 10 minutes long. And that is a crushing track. We've got different kind of paces in there. It's just brilliant. Absolutely brilliant stuff. It's very difficult to describe just how good this album is. But this is my favourite Nile album. Along with The Gates of Sethu, which was the first album that I had of Nile's. I just seem to gravitate towards that album quite regularly. And Those Whom the Gods Detest. I absolutely love this album. Freaking love it. It's amazing. Check out Nile if you like some punishing death metal with some real atmosphere. Just as I mentioned about Sinister, that being a very dark album, this is darker. This is like No Light Escapes. This album, although it's a beautifully orange kind of splatter vinyl, this album is the musical equivalent, the audible equivalent of being sealed in a tomb in ancient Egypt. How dark and menacing and metal is that? So, go in reverse order then to take you back through those. We've got the great Black Seeds of Vengeance from the mighty Nile, US technical death metal heavyweights. Then from Sweden, we have Unanimated with Victory in Blood, a beautiful double album, a really glorious effort from a great band. Then we've got a bit of a weird one. We've got Mangled Dehumanization from Master, a legendary death metal band with not a very legendary live album here. Back to another legendary band from Germany, now defunct as I say, Odium from Morgoth. released in 1993, onto that burning orange sunny vinyl. And then the other highlight in this collection for me, the glorious Syncretism from Sinister. Absolutely love this band, love that album. Freaking great. So there you have it, that's my latest batch of heavy relics. What are your thoughts and opinions on these bands, on these albums? Do you own these copies? Do you own these albums? Do you disagree with my opinions and thoughts on some of the releases there? Interested to hear thoughts and opinions of others as always, so do feel free to stick your thoughts in the comment section. Feel free to like and subscribe as well, my friends. Very much appreciated, and we're generating a real following here, which is really, really cool. Very much appreciated. Check back soon for more reviews and recommendations of all the good heavy things. But take care, my friends, and stay heavy.